appropriate walk-up music for this?
Where's the music? Where's the magic? Straight out of Calgary.
Right, everybody ready? Everyone's good?
Sandwich out there on the black and white camera like the S1Ws.
Oki, Dada Nistada, Ambawastich, Tanse, and good morning, everyone. I'm joined by my council colleagues today to bring you some important updates that are related to the maintenance and repair work that's happening with the Bears Paw South feeder main. We are at the halfway point of this work now, and things are looking positive for a timely completion of the repairs by September the 23rd, followed by 3 days to flush and fill the feeder main, which means we anticipate return to service of that feeder main by September the 26th. Now, of course, this all is dependent on what we find when we do all of the excavation work, but things are looking really good so far. There is also some excellent news for Bowness residents who live along 33rd Avenue and have repair work happening right in front of their homes. 3 of the 4 of those sites are in the final stages of backfilling as well as paving to return the road to regular use. I had the opportunity to be on site in Bowness last week with crews, and it's clear that the Calgarians who live in Bowness have been doing everything they can to look after each other. There are neighbors who have opened up their yards and their driveways to individuals next door who have mobility issues, and this has made it possible for our city teams to install temporary ramps in some locations so that people have better and safer access points to get in and out of their block. I was also told about people who are sharing their driveways with their neighbors so they have a place to park during this repair work. Now, these folks have also built strong relationships with city staff and contractors, so much so that I was able to see a rose bush that was preserved because we were able to modify the position of the safety fencing that was going up. And that's because conversations were happening between residents and our crews. We have also had crews helping residents to carry groceries and packages to their home, and I can tell you the folks at Graham Construction noted that it would probably be better for people to haul their groceries with wagons, so that's been made available to residents as well. It really has been an incredible shared effort. To the residents of Bowness who have been directly impacted by this work, thank you so much for working hand in hand with our city crews as well as contractors to have this repair work completed on this critical piece of water infrastructure. The inconvenience and the disruption that you have all had to endure is not something that we take lightly. I greatly appreciate your patience and your understanding over the last couple of weeks. In the next 2 weeks, we will see work continue on the 4th site that is along 33rd Avenue, as well as 3 sites along 16th Avenue. There are crews that have been working very hard to connect with businesses to see how many could retain their access to the front of their businesses. And temporary parking solutions have also been created for those places that are going to have disruptions immediately in front of them. Now, I know how difficult it's been for those businesses along 16th Avenue while we do this maintenance work, and your ideas for traffic flow and detours have helped us immensely. Over these final 2 weeks of repair work, remember that Montgomery businesses along 16th Avenue are open for business, and they could sure use your support. So please know that they're eager to serve you. Go out and do some of your local shopping there. I'm now going to turn things over to Ward 7 Councillor Terry Wong, who's here to tell us a bit more about what he's been observing on the ground.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. First off, thank you to the residents in Bowness and as well the residents in Montgomery, the businesses in Montgomery. Councillor Sharp and I have done a lot of work in trying to engage our residents and our businesses for the last 3 weeks, particularly over the last couple of weeks, to ensure, again, that people in the area are well served, but also the people that are visiting the area also find easy access to the area. One of the things that we've done literally every day is to get out there and visit our businesses and that. We've door knocked all the businesses, we've door knocked all the residences. We've asked them, what did we learn in the last episode back in June, July? Are we applying them today? Can we make even better improvements? One of those improvements that we have done significantly is try to improve traffic flow in and out of the area, albeit we're still learning lessons there and trying to improve it as well. The other thing that we've also done is to try to stop by and shop the different businesses in there. So I asked you, for example, it's a hot day like this, drop by Abby's Creation, for example, for an ice cream, or if you're thinking of rafting on a weekend, go to a sport rent, pick up a raft from them, or cycling. There are businesses out there that are surviving barely. When you talk to these businesses, their attitude again is this: if we don't shop in these areas, they're forced to either incur the expenses of the staffing that they have to keep on board, or worse yet, let the staff go and thereby create a bit of temporary unemployment. So please, Calgarians, please get out there and support them. When it comes to water conservation, again, I want to say thank you to all the residents across Calgary, all the businesses across Calgary, similarly for all the work that you've done. You've seen the water usage over the last little while here. We're not quite at the 485 number yet. There's a little bit of work that needs to be done. We're certainly asking people to continue to work, but also step it up a little more, particularly on some of the non-residential business areas. The other thing I think I would also like to say again, if we don't do that, and I know we're halfway through and we're just about at the finish line here, if we don't do that, and if we have to step up the water restrictions, that just simply means businesses may end up having to, again, shut down their businesses and create some temporary unfortunate situation for employees and staff. So with that, please, Calgarians, and help. It is I'd say a mutual collaborative effort. Council colleagues behind me here, I know they've done their best to try to advocate across their communities as well to do the same thing. So again, pull together in about 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be out of this. Thank you. Mayor Gondek.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong, and I want to thank you and Councillor Sharp for being so committed that the people in your wards are getting through this with all of the support that they need. Now, this gives all of you a better picture of what's been happening on the surface while this repair work hits the halfway mark. So let me share with you how important the underground functions have been as well, and the role that you have all played in keeping us going during this time of disruption in your lives. Because the water network underground is actually a series of pipes and storage tanks, one of the significant points that gets monitored each day is whether we have enough water to refill those underground storage tanks or community reservoirs each night. There are many of these tanks throughout the city, and sometimes they're located under soccer fields or green spaces that you might see. The water that's stored in those is as important as the water that you can see at the reservoir at our Glenmore treatment facility. Speaking of that Glenmore treatment plant, there is another significant monitoring point during these repairs. Typically at this time of year, the Glenmore plant is providing us with about a third of the city's water. Right now, it's producing more than 70%, so it's doing even more than double duty from what it typically would do. As a result, there is increased pressure on this plant, and that's resulted in a pump failure and a malfunctioning component in our treatment process over the last few days. Now, the good news is that the water teams were very quick to respond and they addressed the concerns, but these kind of incidents highlight the types of risks associated with maintaining high operational pressures over an extended period of time. I believe the analogy that was used yesterday is if you rev your engine when you're driving at a very high level, that's not sustainable. So again, we're looking out for the Glenmore treatment plant right now. Because preventative maintenance work at the Glenmore facility is not possible while the Bearspaw South feeder main is being repaired, it's important for all of us to band together in reducing our water usage to lessen the strain on that Glenmore plant. This is a good way to also address a question that many of you have had. If we continue to see that our usage is around the 495 or 500 mark, and the target is actually lower, the target's 485, how do we still have water flowing to our taps? And that's an excellent question. There is one very big reason for this. In June, the water team was able to learn from the situation that we faced when the feeder main broke and we went into an emergency response. By studying the different ways that water can be moved from the Bearspaw plant into the overall citywide network, our teams found a way to add about 30 to 35 million litres more into our system each day while this Bearspaw South feeder main is down. They found a bypass solution that allows us to have more water being pumped. This temporary solution while we do the maintenance and repair work has been useful, but we still have that reality of the Glenmore treatment facility operating at maximum capacity. If we have another pump failure or another operating issue that requires us to reduce the Glenmore plant's production of water, we'll immediately be faced with a situation where we need to reduce our water usage dramatically, and none of us wants to get to that position. That's the main reason that I've been asking you to keep up your great work in reducing water use, and I'm encouraging you to do just a little bit more. One less flush a day, one less shower in the week, one less load of laundry. All of those actions matter. And remember, when we had to urge you to use less water at the start of this repair work, you managed to bring down your water usage by more than 30 million liters in a single day. So we know you've got this. We know you've been listening, and we know that you've been doing your best. The message today is simple. Please know how much we appreciate everything that you have done so far, and please think about further actions that you can take to make sure we reduce water. The residents and businesses in Bowness and Montgomery who are facing incredible disruptions will be grateful to you, and so will all of us on council who are actually doing the same things that all of you are. We have changed our habits at home. We have changed our habits at work, just like all of you. We're at the halfway point, folks, and we got here successfully because you and I both know that community action makes a big difference. The Glenmore treatment plant needs our help right now so it can keep providing us with water. I'm asking you to think about that one more action that could help in reducing water usage. The one flush, the one shower, the one load of laundry or dishes, it can make all the difference, and I know that we can do this together. The water team will be providing further technical updates today at 2 p.m. Until then, I want to thank you, the residents and the businesses in Bowness and Montgomery, for being very good neighbors and taking care of each other. Thank you to our media partners for ensuring that we are able to get the message out to the public. Thank you to the city water teams as well as our private sector partners for your professional work on this repair. And thank you to everyone in Calgary, Tsuut'ina Nation, Strathmore, Airdrie, and Chestermere for being a part of the solution in reducing our water usage. My goal is to join you again in 2 weeks to announce that we are actually wrapping things up. Before I turn this to Adam to field any questions that we may have for the media, I would like to express on behalf of the City of Calgary deepest condolences to the Goudreau family who today will be laying two brothers at rest. This is a very heavy day and our hearts are with the family. I'm going to turn things over to Adam for questions.
Darren, what do you think the sticking point has been in getting it to the 485 million liters? Aside from the time when the target was actually 450, we haven't actually been below 485. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of people were away in August. I think a lot of people were getting ready for back to school. Life was very busy for Calgarians and the surrounding region. And I think as a result of that, people may have missed the messaging or people simply got caught up in the things that they were doing and didn't think about water reduction. So I can tell you that the ability to go down from 600 million liters, which is on average what we were using throughout the month of August, getting down to 500 is a significant accomplishment. So my council colleagues and I are very impressed with all the measures that have been taken to date. We just need to do that little bit more.
Is there anything that council is prepared that would mean further water restrictions because we're not able to meet that 485 million liters?
So at this point in time, the water teams have put in the restrictions that limit all outdoor water usage. You are not able to use water outside at all, and that has been a significant driver in bringing those numbers down. We as a council have not been approached to do anything differently. I can tell you that the water team has been on the phone and meeting in person with a lot of the large commercial users of water and asking them what they can do to bring those numbers down. So it really is a collective effort between residents and businesses just doing that little bit more.
Scott, CBC.
Mayor, the city has a lot of data in terms of water consumption and has not released any information about where the issue is, why we haven't been able to hit the target that the city wants Calgary and area to hit. Do you think that that information should be provided so that at least you get a sense publicly, what is the issue? Is it, I don't know, this quadrant, or, is it commercial? Is it residential? they've had specific praise for areas around Calgary and for the businesses that are high water consumers, but we have no other information.
That is absolutely something that can be looked at, and I would encourage you at 2 p.m. when you are with the water team to pose that question to them. It is something that council can request as well. I know that when we were in the emergency situation in June, we were providing you with consumption numbers on a daily basis. That's absolutely something we can do. Again, we know we have information, and I know that Calgarians are wanting to see more, so it's absolutely something we can address.
And what do you attribute the fact that we haven't been able to hit that target? You know, as you mentioned, that there's progress in terms of like 600 million a day would be normal, 500 is a significant drop, but why do you think we haven't been able to hit 485 and below? Is it fatigue? What?
So the question is, why do I think we haven't been able to reach the 485 target that we have for water usage? So 485 million liters of water used would put us in a very good position where we would have some backup if we have any kind of a technical failure or equipment failure at the Glenmore facility, or if we are in a situation where firefighters need access to more water than usual. I would say that people understood in June how big of an emergency it was. And that's because the pipe basically exploded, and the next day we had to issue an emergency alert. We were in a crisis situation at that time. This time around, because it's maintenance and repair work, I think some folks are feeling that this only impacts people in Bowness or in Montgomery, and we need to give you continual reminders that this impacts us all. We are not in a different situation than we were in June. We still need to be reducing our water usage just like we did back then. There is a little bit of better news this time around because the team was able to get more water flowing through the system, through the bypass that they created, but we still need to bring down our water use. And I think delivering that message as often as we can is going to be important.
How sustainable is the water consumption right now? When the water restrictions were first implemented, we heard we're going to run out of water if we don't reduce our usage. That was the messaging. Last week we heard we found some more capacity, but we are redlining the Glenmore water treatment plant. So how sustainable is the water use right now, seeing the numbers still above 500?
Seeing numbers above 500 sends us a very clear signal that this is not sustainable. So we do need to get those numbers down, and we need to do it together as members of the communities that are benefiting from water flowing to our pipes. As you have heard, the Glenmore Treatment Facility is doing a great job and working at maximum capacity, but if anything were to happen, we will be in trouble. So once again, I want to thank everybody for what you've done so far to reduce water usage. I mean, we went down by 100 million liters from what we typically were using. So you've done good work. We just need to dig in a little bit deeper and do some more.
And can I ask Councilor Wong a question?
Yeah.
Just based on his remarks there about the businesses.
Sure.
I guess what are your concerns when you see that water use? You mentioned that there are some businesses in the Montgomery area specifically that are really struggling at this point. What are your concerns when it comes to the high water use we have been seeing across the city?
Yeah, thank you for that, Adam. I'll speak specifically of an anchor tenant in our Montgomery area without naming them specifically, but they were losing in June about $10,000 a week in revenue. They are continuing to lose about $10,000 a week in revenue. Their concern is, again, they're paying also the expenses of people there, again, the employees there. The concern, again, from their perspective is that when people are not, conserving water, will the city increase the water restrictions? If that's the case, will they have to even, eat the cost even more? That's a concern for them more than anything else. The other part of the equation is, again, from a traffic perspective, as we said before, we need to have people shop in the area because, again, if we don't shop in the area, they're not going to get their revenues in there. And so we're asking Calgarians, please do two things. Number one, find the appropriate route through Montgomery, through Bowness, and you don't have to go through Bowness Road. You can go all the way up to 32nd Avenue, Markham Mall, come down Home Road. That's an alternative, and that alleviates it. The second thing is to be really sensitive to the pedestrians on the streets, because right now we've got a couple of schools that go back and forth, and they're having a hard time, kids crossing the street when we got irate sort of Bowness drivers in there. So Bowness Road drivers, not Bowness people, but more importantly, again, be sensitive to them.
If I could just go back to the mayor for a second, I just want to follow up a question that Adam asked about the sustainability aspect, we've been told right from the beginning that this is unsustainable, yet we're 2 weeks in, it appears pretty sustainable. You know, so it, like, to the public, is there a little bit of a boy who cried wolf here going on? Or can we actually put a definitive timeline on how sustainable it is?
I think the biggest thing to remember is that it's the Glenmore treatment facility that we're worried about the most right now. So to the question of when will we run out of water, do we know how many days it will take, it's not necessarily a matter of that. It is a matter of if something breaks at the Glenmore facility and we either have to shut down that facility or we have to shut down a significant portion of the production, we will be immediately plunged into emergency conditions. And that's what we want to avoid. So the 485 target that was provided to Calgarians was provided with an abundance of caution and an appreciation for the type of risk that we are taking on right now. There was never a time that we wanted to do these repairs and shut down all water. That was not something we wanted to do. So to find the solution to have a single plant producing water and to find a bypass from Bears Paw was significant. So I would say once again, to protect the Glenmore treatment facility, that's the reason we need to be at 485. We're seeing that we're up in the 500s and we're still able to function and fill the underground tanks. But if something happens, we will not be in that position any longer.
Kevin, CTV.
I have two questions, both for the mayor. First, right now we're under water restrictions. Some Calgarians have received tickets for using water when they shouldn't. You're ordering homeowners and residential customers not to use water. But this morning you said you're asking large consumers, large industrial consumers, commercial consumers. At what point does it get so serious that you don't stop asking them and you start telling them, okay, large industrial users, you're using less, or else, like you're telling residential consumers?
So what we know of the conversations that have been had with large commercial or industrial users of water is that they have managed to bring down their consumption significantly. The ongoing conversations that are being had with those groups are to see what more they can do. In the very same way that we really appreciate what residents have been doing and we're asking you to dig a little bit deeper, that's what's happening on the commercial side. I can tell you that if we had large users who were not changing their habits at all, that would be immediately addressed. The fact is that they have been reducing their water usage and we need them to do a little bit more to find other ways to do more. So this is absolutely the same request of large users as it is from residents. And when it comes to outdoor water usage, no one is able to use outdoor water right now with the restrictions in place.
My second question is off topic. It's regarding Multinova and the provincial decision to cut back on the number of Multinovas. And on Friday, the head of the Alberta Chiefs of Police and our Chief of Police sent out a statement saying that that would severely limit their ability to maintain traffic safety, that it would impact their budgets and possibly require the hiring of more police officers. Are you concerned about how it will affect the city's budget?
We rely very heavily on advice and perspectives from Calgary Police Service and the experts in public safety when it comes to how we keep our streets safer. We know that photo radar or Multinova allows them the opportunity to do monitoring of speed. And ultimately, the goal is to keep people within the speed limits so we are not seeing incidents where people are losing their lives. Frankly, when we have speeding vehicles, it is not safe for anyone. So I can tell you that Calgary Police Service as well as Calgary Police Commission are number one focused on the safety issues that arise when you can't do radar or monitoring. When it comes to our budget being impacted, that is absolutely a reality. So I'd be interested to know what the provincial government is going to do to keep the police service whole when they are actually going to be collecting less in fine revenue.
Any other questions, anyone? So what's the next step here? We have 2 weeks left. Is kind of the hope that we can remain in that weird sustainable, kind of not sustainable spot for the next 2 weeks, given repairs seem to be going very smoothly at this point?
So I'm going to paint you a picture and tell you why it's important for all of us to be using just a little bit less water. If you go to 33rd Avenue, I will tell you what you see for the homes that are impacted. I want you to imagine looking out your front window, and instead of seeing the street in front of your home, you see a large blue fence, a very tall blue fence that signals there's something going on in the street. And when you go to the edge of your lawn and you look, there is an open pit that has exposed a massive 2-meter pipe that is actively being fixed. I want you to also imagine that on your driveway, instead of your vehicle, it is a large service vehicle that is holding up a power pole because the construction needs to be done right up to that point. I want you to think about how you're going to take your groceries from your vehicle into your home when you can't park in front of your home or in your garage. These are the realities that folks are living with day in and day out while this repair work is happening. So my request to all of us to do one less toilet flush or one less shower seems small compared to what the folks in those communities are facing. So if we can keep that perspective in mind, I think it gives us the ability to dig deep for the next 2 weeks while this construction and maintenance is being done and get that water usage down.
All right, folks, thanks so much for your time. Sorry, Councillor.
Can I just answer Calvin's question? Your question about police?
Do you want to catch up with
Yeah.
them?
Well, I had a question about Multinovas.
Why don't
Yeah.
you catch up with them?
Okay.
You got a
Okay.
comment?